Good afternoon and welcome to the MMA Webinar Series 2020 as we continue to bring to you curated and rich insights in collaboration with industry experts, marketers, and partners. I'm Monica Khurana, MMA India Country Head, and your host for today. Welcome to the first session of the series on Make Modern Marketing Work, brought to you in partnership with Oracle. We believe it is the end of digital marketing, and it's no different from mainstream marketing. Given the scale of digital adoption and customer journeys, which have pivoted in a big way to digital environments, be it social, e commerce, or communication, this is the era of modern marketing. The marketer is upskilling himself to enable personalized user experience, MarTech implementation, and business transformation as must haves for marketing and business plans to succeed. Hence, it's important. MMA enables the expertise and learnings for the industry. So, before we begin the session today, let me share with you various initiatives MMA is taking to enable the modern marketing journey. We have a MarTech Advisory Council representing the ecosystem, as well as an in house MarTech expert to educate marketers, build capabilities, and enable educational programs focused on MarTech. We've also recently concluded the MMA India Forum, which was focused on modern marketing, and we're scheduled to release an industry wide MarTech survey to provide a view on MarTech adoption across industries. So, with that, it gives me immense pleasure to launch the first session of the three-part series in partnership with Oracle. The same would enable a deep dive on everything MarTech that a practitioner needs to know and do for successful MarTech implementation and to get the most out of available technology. The series today begins with a session on personalized user experience in the age of privacy, and the upcoming two sessions would focus on industry-specific best-in-class MarTech practices for BFSI and would end with digital transformation strategy. Before we start, let's just quickly go through some housekeeping. Please feel free to ask as many questions as you like. And whilst asking your question, do mention your name, your designation, your company, and a specific speaker who you'd like to ask the question to. Please note all questions should be very specific to the topic being discussed today. With that, let me introduce you to our panel for today and also share a bit about them, which you won't probably see on their LinkedIn page. So, can we have all our panelists on video, please? So, let me start by introducing Jahid Ahmed, who is Vice President and Head Digital, Content, and Social Media Marketing at HDFC Bank. Jahid is a digital marketing professional and has been instrumental in institutionalizing data-driven digital campaigns, MarTech, and transformation setups across various BFSI organizations. His digital mantra is to drive hyper-personalized relevance in customers' digital journey, which makes him probably most suited for today's discussion. And outside of his professional expertise, you should know he's an ardent dancer and has won national intercorporate dance championship. Whoa, we need to see the performance sometime for sure, Jahir. So with that, let me introduce you to Gaurav Kaushik, who's Global VP Advertising at Geo7. Gaurav is a part of the core team at Geo7 and wears many hats there, be it product, strategy, strategic alliances, analytics, operations, and a handful of things. No wonder he's core team. Gaurav is an evangelist of programmatic audio advertising, and he believes that through their platform, they need to deliver personalized ads that create value for users. His favorite book, apparently, is Zero to One, and he shared this really interesting quote with me from there, which says, customers won't care about any particular technology unless it solves a particular problem in a superior way. And that's what we've all gathered here and to do. So that's a lovely one, Gaurav, and welcome to the panel discussion. So
Thank you.
Umesh Krishna, you're welcome. And we have Umesh Krishna, who's Director Marketing at Swiggy. Umesh is an omni-channel marketer and an ardent believer in the integration of data and design in building the right marketing strategy. He has extensive experience in MadTech, which is MarTech and AdTech combined, and has worked extensively in brand and performance marketing. Well, to his professional credit, he also has he wears the hat of an internationally certified fitness instructor, and he mentors students for digital marketing. So that's quite a lot happening there, huh, Umesh? And welcome to the panel discussion.
Thank you for the welcome. Yeah.
Most welcome. And let's now have Rakesh Jaitley, who's Senior Sales Director, CX Solutions, Oracle. Rakesh is a business leader with 22 years of experience and a track record of delivering winning results. His sector experience includes software products, professional services, and information services, and IT advisory. Whilst not in office, Rakesh loves writing poetry, traveling, and playing outdoor sports. So, welcome, Rakesh, to the panel discussion.
Yeah, thank you. Looking forward.
Fantastic. So, with that, let me welcome our moderator for today, Raman Kalra, who is the partner who's partner in entertainment, media, sports, and a CMO advisory leader at PwC India. He is an entrepreneur at heart with 28 years of experience in industry and consulting. Raman, as a partner, is also leading the CMO advisory practice at PwC and helping brands across sectors transform the marketing and brand strategy, which is so much the need of the hour. He's passionate about long drives, he says, and he loves music. Besides which, he loves to take the road less traveled, literally, apparently. So, welcome, Raman, and welcome to all of you. I'm sure this is going to be an absolutely enlightening and enriching discussion. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Raman to open it up with everybody. Raman, over to you.
Thank you, Monica. Am I audible?
Yes.
Super. Thank you, Monica, for the rounds of introduction, and pleasure to be here with all of you and with my colleague panelists over here. Gaurav, Umesh, Jahid, and Rakesh, welcome on board, and a very warm good afternoon to everybody who is in the audience listening to us. Thank you for taking your time for this. As the topic says, personalized experience in the age of privacy. I think it's a highly debated, much discussed topic. There is a big shift which is happening in the way the marketing gets done, and to a great extent, while it was already on board, it was already in flight, but COVID has kind of accelerated it much more faster. So I think the whole digital acceleration that has happened in the pretty much everything that we do, whether we consume content, we have Geo7 with us in terms of music, whether we eat food and order food from outside, while in-house in-room dining was shut down pretty much most of the time, but people did order a lot of food at home, and the industry has grown significantly, the home delivery. So we have Swiggy on board, or the amount of banking that everybody has started doing, the whole digital payment, the fintech space, the digital banking, whether it is retail, consumer, or enterprise, B2B, all segments of banking has picked up digitally significantly in last few quarters. So we have HDFC Bank also on the side with us. And of course, we have Rakesh representing Oracle CX Solutions. These guys, Oracle does phenomenal work in providing solutions in this space. So I think we have a very fine mix of people. What I love about the panel is it brings the three aspects of life which all of us go through and all of us have experienced personally in some form and shape. And so I think that will bring that kind of realism to the discussion that we do on the panel today. So I would start with a very quick, comment from everybody on the panel that digital advertising was on a growth anyways, pre-COVID environment. It was growing from 10% to 15% to roughly 20%, depending on what industry you come from. It actually ranged from, I would say, 10% to as high as 50% of the overall marketing spends of the brands. Now it has dramatically changed, and the role and the importance and the significance of digital channel is so much that that no brand can really imagine or plan their marketing strategies without this at the core of it. So a quick comment from maybe I'll start, Gaurav, with you. Have you seen a sudden shift, which is an exponential growth on the importance of digital as a means to connect with the consumers vis-a-vis the other means?
Right. Hi. So in terms of the shift, right? So music streaming has always been digital pre-COVID or post-COVID. But when you talk about the shifts, right? So one major shift that we noticed, and it was basically there's a new definition for work from home, right? So we all were comfortable saying, hey, I'm working from home today, especially people in the digital ecosystem. But that definition for us, and I'm sure with a lot of people on this call will be able to relate, has changed now, right? By mainly two main things, right? So one of them is the locations are actually changing. So what I meant by location is you'll see a lot of people are moving from tier 1, tier 2 cities to tier 2 and tier 3, right? So most of the people are moving back to their hometown because now you can work from anywhere. Internet is, thanks to Geo, internet is available across the country. All you need is internet. You have your laptop, you have your internet, and you can just go sit anywhere and you can work from there. So that is one major shift that we have seen, because back in the day when brands are trying to reach out to the audience in tier 1 and tier 2, now that is slowly and gradually shifting to across the India, not just any two tiers. That was one major shift. The other major shift, what we saw was, and we were initially kind of skeptical about this thing, that now there is no commute. No one's traveling to the office. No one's stuck in the car or the train or the bus. So that aspect of everyone's life has changed, right? So the distance between your bedroom and your work desk is reduced. It's very minimal, right? So initially we saw a decline in the content consumption when people were commuting. What it did was like it just shifted. It didn't reduce. So what I meant by that is, so instead of consuming content while you commute, you consume content when you're doing other activities. So the media mix has changed for us. Up till now, we were most of the time listening to content on our phones. But now we are listening more and more content on connected devices, whether it's smart speaker, whether it's a TV, because you have those devices available with you when you are at home. When you're traveling, you don't have these connected devices. But that slowly and gradually is adding to the mix. So from an advertiser point of view, it's not just the smartphone that they have to now look into, but they also have to look into other connected devices where they can reach out to the same user at different moments in life. So I think it's the same user, it's just that how they're consuming the content and where they're consuming the content is kind of shifting. It's a different mix now.
Yeah, I agree. So Jahid, I'll come to you. You know, while from Umesh and Gaurav perspective, it's a Jio, Savan, and Swiggy. You know, they are born. They're digital native players. You know, if we speak about it, but HDFC Bank, you know, there's a lot of banking that happens in a non-digital world. How has been this shift for you? You know, if you can quickly share the experience in terms of reaching out to consumers and connecting with them from a marketing strategy point of view.
Yeah, we. Am I audible, Raman?
Yes.
Good, great. So first, thanks for having us over here. And I was just posted in my LinkedIn profile that, you know, when financial services, food, and music comes in one platform, I think that's the best personalized services that anybody can expect. So perfect set of panelists out over here. Okay, Raman, coming back to your question, you know, we have 5,000 plus branches. But what we have now defined, the biggest branch for this bank is the website now. No branch can beat us in this traffic. Okay, so what we are seeing is the kind of traffic that has come. Now, if you see the phases, right? First, there was moratorium. So we tried, there was a spike in traffic. People tried to understand what is moratorium, how to avail it. Then came the SME announcement, right? People again tried to come in and understand how to avail the SME benefits, right? And then slowly and steadily, as we see, people have in India somehow has kind of has come in terms with COVID. They say COVID will be happening. Let us get back to our work, and that's the kind of mindset that we India have. We have recently concluded with a marquee campaign, Festive Treats. Okay, and the kind of business that we have seen is phenomenal. Our whole war cry was, can we match up 2019 October, which was our first series of campaign, and we have done that. So I think there's a saying called necessity is the mother of invention. right? Not that this is the necessity that we would have liked to have a COVID scenario, but what has happened is the expectation from digital marketing has changed. Initially it was like, feel good, we should be there, engagement rate, yes, leads, maybe business, that will be a wow factor. But now I think the intensity and the expectation both have changed. The intensity in terms of every product coming in, the end-to-end journey. It's not that only leads or only engagement, it's the end-to-end journey. The journeys have got developed. So IT came in, BTG came in, every team has stepped in to ensure that the end-to-end journeys are there, right? And hence, when the journeys are there, when the scaled up plans have happened, the expectation is digital now is an end-to-end conversion source for you. Okay. So like Swiggy, now let's say, yes, insurance was already there. And now we can proudly say that banking is also going in the e-com way, end-to-end conversions, mapping hardcore business.
Yeah, I think one, I totally agree with you. I think there is a, and also with what Gaurav was saying, that there is a shift in the media mix that has happened. There is a journey which is getting more and more important. This whole has also led to a much stronger expectation in the consumers. And we are a young country. We are a country of 800 plus million under 35 population, which has been more and more demanding as they get on smartphones more and more. As a nation, everybody wants to be served individually. Talking to me as Raman as a male 40 plus tier 1 town is not good enough anymore. Unless and until somebody comes and talk to me as Raman Kalra, in particular, understand me deeper, faster, better, and gives something which is very, very relevant to me. It doesn't excite people, and that's how the expectations have become. That's how the experiences have gone to. It obviously puts a lot of pressure on every brand, every publisher to invest more in technologies to understand consumer data more. The core fundamental of serving personalized marketing is the data. You got to really understand consumer much deeper. So I'll come to Umesh, to you from a Swiggy perspective. You guys are let's say relatively if I look at Oracle, if I look at SGFC, if I look at even Jio, from a relative perspective, Jio, I would add Reliance in the back of it. You are the kid on the block which has grown significantly large and big, and established as a very, very dominant player. How had been your experience, Umesh, on building from grounds up the whole MarTech piece? Because there are 10,000, as per some recent reports, there are 10,000 plus MarTech solutions out in the market. From end-to-end holistic solutions to very, very niche solutions addressing a small piece of problem, small piece of the puzzle. How had been Swiggy's journey in investing into right kind of technologies and building up a MarTech landscape to be able to reach out to consumers better and know them far better? You want to share some quick examples on that?
Sure, Raman, I think very tough question in the sense that it's a great question, and it actually touches upon a few facets as well, right? So for us, something that we were very clear walking into year 1, year 2 into this industry way back in 2015 or 16 was that it's an industry that should scale very quickly, right? We are trying to serve everyone, reach every me location. Therefore, something that we were clear was we have to build for scale. And obviously, it's a country with a lot of diversity, right? And sometimes situational factors can completely alter the way people behave, the way people eat, right? Take COVID, which might be a long-term impact, or take a festive season or IPL, which is a short-term impact, right? So when we thought about building our technology stack, something that we actively keep in mind is not to become a slave to what is convenient, in the sense that very often with a lot of startups, because you're still looking at a 6-month, 1-year window, trying to understand when the next fund flow will be, etc. A lot of smaller companies, what they typically do is just rely heavily on Facebook and Google does, right? Then your understanding of the customer becomes a lot offline. You're just working with things offline, just preparing audience segmentations in a manner which these easy to advertise media can kind of consume. So eventually where you end up is if it's mapping your customer journey, or measure your marketing effectiveness or building a personalization, you become too wedded or married to what those walled gardens can do, right? And very often the teams also kind of like get built in a manner where it's a little operational, in the sense that, hey, I want this person to carry out this particular task, versus thinking more in terms of a much integrated marketing stack. So for us, it's always about thinking a couple of years in the future. We can't really say 5 or 7 years because of the nature of the industry, and bringing in, let's say, the right data management platforms, the right marketing automation platforms. And even before having them come in, always thinking through about how will they sit together, right? So that's usually how we approach technology. In terms of people, what we look at is people who can diversify their skill sets very quickly and can work cross-functionally. You would see folks from analytics switching over to CRM, or people who are from a traditional marketing background pick up digital very strongly. So from a tech and a people perspective, this is how we have built and kind of like look forward to investing further.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Umesh. I think you guys have certainly done a terrific job, as a digital native player in this space. I think a lot of your existence, a lot of your growth pretty much depends on the investments that you do in process and technologies on this space. On that note, while we're talking about data and understanding of consumers, knowing your consumers as the pre-foundation for delivering a good personalized marketing experience, Rakesh, I would want to jump on to you, and you represent Oracle. Oracle has a very large suite of offerings in this space. You guys work with enterprises at all scale, from very large conglomerates to medium, MSME segment as well. What had been your experience in terms of businesses having walked this journey of investing into right piece of technologies to deliver the ever demanding consumers a good experience, and how do you see Oracle really playing a role in transforming this space? Rakesh?
Yeah, very nice question, actually. Thanks for asking. Look, as we all understand, after this pandemic, there are 2-3 words which have become very key, right? One is obviously digital engagement. Second is contactless, and lot many other things, which has given a different meaning to the lot of business model. Now, in terms of Oracle being a vendor and technology vendor, we always care for our direct customer and how they serve their customers, because that is where their revenue will come through. And so it's a double kind of service which we do. So at Oracle, typically we work with marketers and real practitioners, like some of them are in this panel as well, where what we hear from the colleague in the industry is the emphasis primarily is on 3 aspects. One is obviously the connected data, where you need to have a single view of the customer, irrespective of whether they come through website, whether they come through mobile, whether you do it capture, but that all the data need to have been connected. Second aspect is connected intelligence, and third is the connected experience. So if you talk about connected data, it is not just about somebody's name or email address or mobile number, but both explicit and implicit data. So for us, it is very important to know why some people spend 10 or 15 minutes on my digital property, whereas some visitors just spend less than a minute. What is extremely important to know that what they are doing outside my digital ecosystem. Are they frequent travelers? Are they in particular age group? Are they looking to buy a property or a car? This is where Oracle has a huge advantage, as we are the largest third-party data marketplace. So we can not only do connected data by using ID resolution, but we can also bring third-party data to augment and enrich and bring intelligence out of that, which will lead to the deeper personalization. So this is the key technology theme areas where Oracle is investing, and a lot of our offerings, when we get into our investment into other things, that is basically well connected to these themes only, and which is basically resonating very well with the market.
Yeah, I agree with you. Very quick one, Rakesh, and I would appreciate a very quick answer on that before we jump on to a mid-session poll that I'll request Monica or the team to really open up. You spoke about data being integrated or disintegrated. There is also this typical challenge in most of the companies on data being siloed between sales or marketing and service and a lot of other departments. So interdepartment across the enterprises, the data is not being shared in a lot of those cases. have you seen what is the experience of companies, especially the large enterprises, and when I talk of this problem, walking this journey? Do you see them walking the way you would ideally want them to, or you think that in general businesses are still reluctant and yet to take the right investments into the space?
You are right. I think we are ourselves to blame on this situation, because reason being the whole technology paradigm actually evolved into many segments, right? First, many organizations started with ERP, then they started with finance function. Today we have CRM. And today, as Gaurav has also rightly pointed, we don't know where their customer journey is starting. Like as per HDFC thing, the website is the biggest branch. So today their customer journey is starting at website. It is starting at mobile. It is starting at your service center. So what is happening is this data gets captured everywhere. Now, to maintain this data's integrity, that is one part where you have one single golden record. Secondly, when this data travels from one system to another system and how it travels and keeping all the parameters and attributes intact, that becomes a very big challenge. So what we are trying to do, Oracle, we have an undue advantage in terms of being a database company, and we understand it well. So we do have a lot of technology and tools which are available, not only to integrate this data, but also to give a seamless experience to the customer, so that they don't worry about where they entered the company and how they will be served. Because company today is supposed to be a hub of intelligence on every aspect to the customer. So what is happening due to that? There is a big transformation which is happening, and we are applying a lot of technology. And I will elaborate further on that, like using the same terminology, how we are converting a lot of contact center, which were earlier cost center, how they're becoming profit center. And there is a very case in point, which I'll surely like to share later on.
Yeah, so we'll come back to that, soon. And I'll take a pause here. And there is a quick mid-session poll that we would want to run on this topic of MarTech deployment by businesses in India. Can I have somebody run that poll? Yeah.
Yeah, Raman, you want to read it out?
Yeah, I can. So what we are asking audience to really poll for is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the MarTech deployment and overall technology deployment in this space and the adoption by brands in delivering the personalized experience in the campaigns? So you have, you have 4 options on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is less effective and 10 is more effective. The 4 options goes as like this, below 2, between 3 to 5, 6 to 8, and above 8. So if everybody can do a quick vote, and then we'll continue.
So I think we've got most of the answers. I'm going to end the poll and I'm going to publish the results for you.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Super. So most 61%, people feel that we are between 3 to 5, and actually, in a way, it kind of resonates with what I would have imagined or thought about it. What do you think, Jahid, Umesh, Gaurav, Rakesh? A quick line of thought on this. Not detailed comment, but a quick line of thought. Would you agree or disagree with this?
I think agree with it. I think with the kind of structured setup that people have, which Gaurav also very rightly highlighted, it's very difficult to have one customer view approach, and that's what people are struggling with. Yeah.
But I think as a matter of principle, if 60+ people say that we are between like less than 5, or around 5, it does say that there is a lot more to be done. And I think I don't blame anybody because the space is so complicated. MarTech is not an easy space to navigate. It is where the marketeers and the technologists really come together. As there have been.
Let me also point out, you might have got the tools, but still you must not have integrated them properly. The marriage is a real tough marriage.
And what to use for what is again a big problem that comes up in people's mind a lot of times. Yeah. So on that note,
I think,
Gaurav, you're saying something?
No, I was saying like there's a third aspect that it's data privacy, right? Even though you have the tool and even you know how to use it, sometimes you are in a situation where you can't even use those tools, right? So it's a fine line between all 3 of them, and I think that's the reason that majority, like 60% of the people, are below 5, and let's hope we get above 5 sooner than later.
Yes, absolutely. So on that note, Gaurav, I'll come to you with the next question on. See, your platform is a lot more immersive platform. People come there, they spend a lot of time, they listen to music, they you are able to capture their tastes and preferences deeper. Uh, in general, people have been reluctant to share information beyond, people want to share least information, on need to need basis. What had been your experience at GeoSavan to really, gather a lot more deeper and richer first party data from your consumers who come to you, and at the same time also invest in technologies to build affiliations of people, based on the time that they spend on you? What had been your experience on really building up a strong consumer database on your platform?
All right, so I've been with Savan for almost 11 years now, and it's one thing to listen to music, enjoy your music, and it's the other thing to actually look at the data, and it tells you a different story altogether, right? We all think that, hey, this is our favorite artist, but when you look at the most consumed artists that you look at, sometimes you're surprised, right? So music is very personal, right? And like all we do at GeoSavan is understand how do people consume music and just focus on that part, right? It's the only content type that you can listen on repeat. There is no other content type that is available that you put a repeat button and you keep listening to it. So what happens is that because it's on repeat, it starts creating patterns, right? So one example we saw was there was this user who listened to this song, I Want to Break Free, 64 times in a single day, right?
Wow.
Now you can imagine what is the state of mind for that particular user, right? So what music does is it is actually really go hand in hand with your mood, right? So the kind of mood you are in influences what kind of music you listen to, and vice versa. The kind of music you listen to influences your mood. And I'm sure all of us have gone through this thing. If we are sad, we'll sometimes try to stick to sad music, and sometimes you try to listen to more peppy music just so that your mood gets uplifted, right? So like that's one part of it that is very personal. Music is also a very companion medium. What it means is that music is available with us throughout the day. Whether you start your day with your morning routine, your workout, while you're working, in the evening when you're chilling by yourself or your friends, or you hit the bed, right? So if you notice that the entire day, the music is present with you. The other example we always like to highlight is with age, right? The romantic genre goes down and the religious genre goes up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody likes to accept that thing, but that's the reality, right? If you look at the data. So when you combine these two things together, that music is very personal and music is a companion medium, they both together becomes a really powerful tool to understand a user, right? And that helps us understand those customized journey for each and every user at an individual level, right? If I take an example of myself, right? So my app is customized for a high tempo music recommendation in the morning versus like a chilled music by the end of the day, right? Because that's how I like to consume content. And we have like similar kind of personas which are throughout the app for each and every individual user. So I think I'm going to say like we are kind of lucky that we don't have to push users to go consume a content, right? Like look at the social media, right? It's like a snacking kind of a thing. You go in, consume a content and come out, right? Versus music, it's always on, right? You're always playing in the background when you're commuting. It's always on your headphone. So it's always with you. Like we don't have to make a push for someone to just, hey, come to us and listen to music. It's actually the other way around, and that's why it's on demand. So it kind of helps us.
And you think because it is kind of always on and very, very immersive, it gives you rather an advantage to understand the consumer far more deeper. And do they also willingly share more information with you? If you
Completely
ask, for example.
I agree, right? So like we all have like Facebook profiles and these social media profiles, right? And if you think about this thing, that's a profile that you want the rest of the world to see, right? That's the profile that you create. But music is so personal that, say for example, if I recommend a song to you and if you don't like it, no matter how much I force you, you're not going to play that song, right? You're going to listen to it once or twice and that's it, right? So that's why music creates a true profile for you. Right. So the only content that you like will go we'll be a part of your music profile. And that actually helps us understand the user better. Like I'm telling you this thing that a lot of people don't openly accept a lot of content they listen to. Like Baby Doll was one of the biggest hit in one of those years, but not everyone openly admits that, hey, I love that song. But the data tells a different story altogether.
Let me make the discussion a little more interesting here. Since you have a large audience base, which is always connected, listening to music, and their mood. When somebody is feeling depressed, happy, excited, sad, jovial, you can really get inside the head of individual. Now coming to Umesh, to you. There is a kind of food that you would like to feed somebody who is happy. There is a kind of food you would like to feed somebody who is feeling sad to really make them feel happy, right? So, you see there is a data which is sitting with the mood of the people coming out of a music industry being leveraged for the right kind of food ad to be driven to them. How do you see that panning out, collaboration and the understanding of consumer data? Umesh, I'll come to you, and I would also want a quick line from Gaurav, you also on this. But first, Umesh.
Okay, you put me in a spot because we collaborate with Savan, and if we do not work on this trend, Gaurav will be very unhappy. All right, so getting into the very basic business. Very often, I think Gaurav has. I probably was a little arrogant that I had a lot of consumer data. After listening to Gaurav, I realized probably he has a guy who listens to 200, 300 songs a week, and we barely have like 5-6 dishes a month. So I think I'm far less privileged than Gaurav is on that front. For us, now there are two levels of personalization, right? One is in terms of a lot of that actually gets served on the product front. I think I'm not well educated to speak about that in depth. On the marketing front, typically for meaningful segmentation, we largely do not go very micro segment because you would want to have a finite number of segments, and our marketing also happens at a certain scale where if you want to leverage the ROI, you would want to have slightly broader segments. So I'm talking 3, 5, or 7, and not necessarily 20 or 30. But within those segments, we often do personalize the communication in terms of what kind of imagery should go through, or what should ideally fit a certain consumer of a certain profile. That is something that we do to an extent. In terms of now rolling back, in terms of defining those 3 to 5 or 7 personas, very often we would need to have markers which are outside of the navigational behavior or the purchase behavior, right? So we depend on the marketing front, on the paid marketing front, we do depend on third-party data so that we understand the personas, define segments in a meaningful manner. And us as a category, so if you may have noticed, the sale value is only so and so much. It's not something where I sell them an iPhone and I make a few thousands of margin. So therefore, whenever we run our marketing, we will have to be clear on the segment definitions in a way where it works at a certain scale. Then once we have clearly defined those segments, we are able to marry the requisite marketing communication to the right audience. I mean, to give you a quickest example, when COVID onset happened, the behavior completely changed. The way I would shop in August or April will have nothing to do with how I would shop in Jan or Feb. Rather than the first party data that we would have, it became a lot about Jahid was talking about in the beginning about migration. It became about how many members are in the family, or how have their attitude to other delivery apps been, etc. So a lot of these third-party inputs helped us kind of like build meaningful segments into our a lot of our retargeting and branding activities.
Yeah, so I'll come back to this question to you, Gaurav, in a while, and also Umesh, to you in a different relevance. But moving on to Jahid, you represent an industry, a banking, financial services industry where people by default are opening up to a lot more financially sensitive data. There is a banking is all about money. Do you see that if you can share some ways or some examples of how more personalized messaging to people has helped increase the online banking habits among people? People today, the kind of success that we have seen in whether it is Google Pay or various other digital payment platforms is humongous, but it came as a transition, it came as a journey. From a banking point of view, some quick examples on how well-connected, personalized messages help you, increase the traffic and increase the online part of banking. As you said, this is the biggest retail that this is the biggest branch that you can talk about today.
Sure. So let me just break it up, the whole the world of personalization and how we bankers see personalization as. Okay. There are three parts to it. The first part of personalization for us is product. Okay. Yeah. How am I? So Raman, if you are like, let's say with a kind of approx 30 million base that we have, we first ensure that we are serving our own customers in the best way possible. Okay. Hence, if I have to personalize the product which Raman wants from me, what is the product that I should give you? So that is the first layer of personalization that happens over here. So I will give you a loan which you can avail for in 10 seconds, Raman, which is for a personal loan, which a Gaurav or Umesh might not have. So that is product personalization to the T. Okay. Second is intent. I have made this product for Raman, but Raman's intention is to buy a different product. How do I understand that? So that's the level of personalization that I have to understand second. Understanding the intent is serving of the campaign, right? That is the third layer of personalization where the marketeers come into play in full force, is the serving of the campaign in a most personalized way. Now, over there also, there is own property and then there is third-party property, right? Own properties are like my own website, my net banking section inside the app. How do I personalize with a one-on-one exact communication? Because these are my own properties. You have taken a conscious call to come inside the property. It's only you who is seeing your amount. I can personalize the communication way further. But same Raman, I don't leave you when you go to a social media platform. There also I personalize. I will obviously try never be creepy over there. I'll obviously moderate myself, but the softer skills, the nuances will be personalized to appeal your subconscious mind, because people think that they're rational, but they're irrationally rational. That's the whole world, right? Now, if you have to ask me an example, like let's say in this whole campaign, you are my existing customer, but you don't have a credit card and you are still using some other mode of payment. So Raman, you will, once you swipe something, let's say a debit card, or you are doing some other mode of payment, though it's kind of cannibalizing each other, but let's say if I have to immediately send you a message, the narrative will be, Raman, if you swipe your credit card on this, you'll be saving, like 30% more. Because I know your peer group. I know your peer group is having this particular card, and basis on the reward points collected on the card, when you actually encash the reward points in terms of, let's say when you redeem the reward points, you'll be actually getting a 30% more discount. Okay, so that's the kind of communication that we nudge. We strongly believe in nudge. Okay, so we want to nudge you at the right moments. Okay, with the right set of creatives also whenever we have to serve a creative. Okay.
And you think these nudges, because you touch upon nudge, you think that the right kind of nudge triggers a behavior and the openness for people to actually come forward and share data also and be more open to it, more receptive to it?
Yeah. So see, today, any website that you go to, everybody asks you that there's a cookie policy. If you accept, we'll be taking it. Tell me how many times have you said no? We have never said no to anybody. Transparency is the required thing today. If we are transparent and they know why they are taking this, why we are taking this data for, okay, I don't think people will have a problem, right? And to that extent, what we're doing is, let's say, this is a very real-time example, which we recently won Economic Times Best Innovation Award for this. Raman, let's say you are on Facebook. Okay, Gaurav is on Facebook and Umesh is, all three of you are on either Facebook or Insta. It has to be, right? I'm sure there's no other way out. Okay, now my ad for the same personal loan Raman, let's say Gaurav loves music. Okay, so I'll be showing him a high-end mobile phone. Let's say he's supposed to buy iPhone, the latest edition, but he's not, right? So I'll be showing him the next set of phone that he should be going for. Because we know internally, basis my first party data, that it's 3 years that Gaurav has not changed his phone. So it's high time that showing the next generation phone that he should be integrated for. And now what will be the screen of the phone? The screen of the phone will be maybe a Savan music app, which subconsciously he will be more tuned to click on that ad, even instead of me showing him a basic something, a car or something else, if he's not a fan of it. But Raman, if you are a car fan, if you love auto, maybe in the same car, the wallpaper that comes in the phone, I'll show you a auto. Okay. With Umesh, maybe I'll show him food, that order your food in the phone. Okay. And I'm just giving you, it's not only about the product that we personalize when I'm serving an ad. Every small element within the ad gets personalized. Be it a male versus female, be it the demographics of the country, that what like, should it be a South Indian attire versus a North Indian attire? If I'm showing a auto loan ad, the car that you are driving, what is the scenario? If you like mountains, you will be driving in a mountain. If you like beaches, you'll be driving in beaches. So every element that gets served in an ad gets personalized. So starting from my own so that's how we are kind of working on the levels of personalization.
I think that's a great point, because the kind of personalization that goes in the banking industry is a little different. The example of product that you spoke about, which is very, very relevant. I'll pick a question. Here's a question from Souvik Roy, from Bajaj Capital, and maybe I'll put it across to. Let me put it across to you, Rakesh and Jahid, maybe both of you. How much personalization should the brands do, and to what extent? Is the hyper-local approach, and giving the recent Mondelez Diwali campaign example, suitable for all sectors? And of course, the one-line answer to that would be that it is, of course, not suitable for all the sectors. But with the growing hyper-local approach, what is the kind of personalization that the brand should be doing? Now, that's a quick question. You want to have a quick shot at it? Any of you?
I can take it.
Yeah.
So, if you just one line to it, I think data has to be married properly with storytelling. If you ask me, I think a lot of brands are doing what Cadbury has done. Okay. But what they really aced it as the art of storytelling, where they married data with. Okay. That's actually really worked for them. Okay. Hyperlocal is much needed. If you see, Google by themselves are promoting near me. When Google is promoting near me, that's because of audiences who are searching on Google, what's the locker services near me? What's the food restaurant near me? Right. So near me has gone big and bold, right? Now, how are people capturing on near me? So that's very much important. And I think it's very much scalable also. Question is, obviously, what's the expectation of these ads? That question has to be set in right in the context for any of the campaigns that goes live.
Yeah. So I think that kind of pretty much answers this one. I'll quickly jump on to a very, very closely knit topic, which we touched upon briefly, when we were doing between Swiggy and Jio, but I'll come back to that now on a data privacy part of it. See, Gaurav, a quick question to you. How does Jio Savan make sure that there is a fine balance between the right kind of personalization and the data privacy while working with the other brands?
All right. So, Umesh, the best way to answer this thing is we are a user-first company, right? So every decision we take, we keep user at the center, right? Now, for having an ideal user experience, there are two main components to it. One of them is content consumption, and the other one is how brands are communicating their messages to our users, right? So that's the overall experience that we expect the users to enjoy on the platform, right? When we talk about the content side, right, we have 60 million plus tracks for all the users, right? So we have a different problem than a banking sector, where a banking sector might have a limited set of products, 60 million tracks. We can't expect each and every individual to figure out the right content, right? So that was one biggest challenge in 2016 with what we were facing. What we did was we ended up creating a personalized homepage experience for the entire 170 million users. So every single users on Savan have their own customized content consumption pattern, right? So your homepage will be different from mine because you listen to a different kind of content versus someone else listening to a different kind of content. And the way it works is the more you listen, the more personalized content you have, right? So it helps elevate the content that you are looking for and deprioritize something that you're not interested at that moment, right? So that's one way to actually curate the kind of content that we want users to focus on. Like it's a simple example is like on your birthday, you would like to have a cake that you like to enjoy, right? And your name written on it. Like imagine a different cake that you don't like and someone else's name on that thing. So I think that's what every user is looking at.
Yeah, but my question, Gaurav, my question would be more on how would you leverage or protect, if I keep these two words, how would you leverage or protect the data that you have built as an affiliation and insight of consumers while working with other brands? And like, for example, when we're talking about somebody feeling really happy and excited and allowing Swiggy to serve an ad which really hits the nail, or maybe somebody is for 5 days listening to sad depressing songs, and you put a psychiatrist ad on the face of it. Like I'm just giving examples. So how would you really protect the data privacy while working with other brands is the question.
So I think Umesh also mentioned something earlier, that they need to find the right audience, the right segmentation, right? Like I mentioned that we try to personalize the content at a user level, but that doesn't mean that we should be exposing that kind of information to all the brands. Yeah. So what I meant is like, so on a high level, there are two ways, and we protect the data privacy, as well as we help the brand to actually communicate in a much more effective way. The first is advertisers use their first party data. So in this particular example, Swiggy knows their user and their food habits. Like we don't even try to actually understand that better, right? So all we say is like, hey, Swiggy knows when to reach out to the user and who's the right user, right? And that's the platform we provide to Swiggy. Swiggy can use their first party data to reach out to the user. Hey, there's a party happening and this is a perfect communication for a party setup. There you go, right? So there you have to draw a fine balance where you're not individually reaching to one user. So like, hey, Raman, you're having a party in the house. Why don't you try this thing, right? So that's the kind of a thing that where you cross the line, and we make sure that it's not you're not crossing the line. So you maintain a level of segmentation, right? So that's one way. The other way is leveraging our sets of data. Like I mentioned, it's a personal medium, it's a companion medium. It draws a lot of pattern, and a lot of brands can actually use those patterns, right? In the same example where Swiggy understands that, hey, they want to reach out to the right audience. They identify the audience on our platform. What they can leverage our data is what time of the day they want to reach out to, right? When, like is it on a party weekend, or is it during the work hours, right? So time of the day becomes really important, and the location, right? So genre, location, time of the day, if you combine all these data points and the data points that say Swiggy has about the user, when you combine all of them together, it creates a very compelling argument for the user. Keeping in mind that it's not at a user level, but at the right segmentation level, so that it doesn't cross the line, it doesn't get into the creepiness factor. That's one way of making sure that we don't.
So Raman, I would like to add further to that. So basically, like you talk about very interesting, in fact, so-called paradox, right? Which is personalization versus privacy, and how much is required and how much is relevant. Plus, adding to it, how much intrusive you get also. Like sometime in the name of personalization, although you feel you are doing a good job, but we do become very intrusive all to the customer. So look, going forward, as I see as a vendor and as a technology vendor, while privacy rule will be putting the decision of data sharing in the hands of consumer, like we can see from the cookies, the way we are treating them. It is important to note that a customer is willing to share his or her data in case they really feel a value of being derived out of it. Some value is getting derived it. Now the value, what can be that value, right? The value can be, if I share this data, do you know me better? By knowing me better, do you treat me better, or do you offer me better? So today, organization are facing this challenge, and secondly, voluntarily divulge their data. I see a strong sense in future where organization will have to incentivize consumer to share the data, and when they share the data, organization expect them to secure it, and organization also need to prove or showcase how they have invested in process and technology to make the consumer data secure. So as per me, it is a critical requirement as your functional requirement, like good user interface, personalized experience and engagement. But privacy and giving enough confidence and trust to the customer is very important. And as we know, and HDFC and how we can really relate to it, there are so many guidelines in financial and regulated sectors where we need to treat data in a very different way. And there are certain other rules which are coming on board. So it is very fine balance which we have to create, plus a lot of trust need to happen, and organization need to be very transparent. And at the same time, guard their behavior not to get intrusive.
So a quick question, Rakesh, to you. I was coming to you on this only. Do you see, there are certain reports which say that every marketeer, and Jahid, Umesh, and Gaurav, you might want to pitch in, if you differ on from it. But there are a lot of reports which says that every marketeer is conscious about drawing a line between data privacy and the personalization. But the adoption of data privacy related measures, whether it is technology driven or process driven, have been dismissal, have been really, really low across a lot of enterprises. How would you see as Oracle, helping marketeers and organizations do it pretty much by default? Because there is a lot of artificial intelligence, machine learning, there's a lot of technology that can come into play, which can guide through, which can really contain that and strike a balance.
You're right. Look, there are 2-3 aspects to it. One is obviously personal privacy about your data. But as a regulatory authority, which is in our case in banking is RBI, in insurance is IRDA, and similarly we have other bodies and GDPR rules and so many. There are so many guidelines which are coming on board. So as a technology provider, we need to ensure that we properly serve this customer as per guidance, and also adhere to the demand of our customer, because sometimes when you become too restrictive, maybe you might not be able to innovate and create enough data which is useful and relevant to the customer. So there is a fine balance of security as well as freedom which we have to exercise. And as far as Oracle is concerned, what we have tried to do is, and learning from COVID also, is how much of that thing can be, we all talk about cloud platform these days versus on-prem, but when we talk about cloud, it is an open platform. But the only solace which we can give to the customer and other regulated organizations is this cloud is hosted in which data center, whether it is in India data center, whether it is outside. In case of any problem, how you will be able to retrieve data, how you will be able to secure, what kind of encryption is there, what kind of data purging technology and backup policy you have. So as a vendor, we ensure we are not only maintain standards, but lay down very groundbreaking rules, which will give comfort to the marketers, comfort to the companies, as well as the customer, they are in the right hands. So I think that is what we are doing.
Yeah, I think that is a fair point. I'll take a quick question from Prabir Sami, that who as per, and it's an open question to all of you, will give a quick reply. Who do you think is the market leader in the personalization space from a tech standpoint, all points inclusive? So, whatever we talk from personalization point of view, if you have to really pick one or two market leaders, whom would you pick besides yourself, of course?
I will not answer. I let people answer.
Any name from you?
I think it will be the e-com or the travel guys as an industry.
E-com and the travel.
Typically, most benchmarking studies put e-com and finance sector as leaders in that segment. What I would request the attendees is to refer to such syndicated studies, and there you may get, there are brands that willingly participate in those benchmarking exercises. So very often you need that internal and external validation and benchmarking to kind of like be clear who's the leader and who is the watch.
Yeah. We are running disturbance from somewhere, I know.
Yeah. What Rakesh was trying to explain, with the cookieless future also coming up, it's very important that every organization tries to
one second, Jahid, 1 second. Can we have everybody on mute? I think there's just too much noise. I think we're not able to hear. Can everybody please go on mute? Thank you so much. Yeah, Jahid, please continue.
Thanks, Monica. So I just want to add a point, Raman, an extension to Rakesh's point that, with the advent of cookieless future, which will be happening in the near future, okay, I think it's very important for every organization to develop their own first-party data authenticator, okay, which should be in sync with all their third-party identifiers. And that should be the identifier that will help you to extrapolate the data and hit market all across. At this point of time, it can only be slightly jargonized, but like, let's say you have your cookie, you have your GAID, right? You have your ADIDs, right? How can you unify all these data stacks, all these identifiers or footprints against your unique own identifier that you create in-house? And that should be your understanding of the entire stack of data for you to kind of do any kind of campaign to this guys. And that's how you can maintain privacy as well as not compromise on personalization.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with that point, and it's of course it's a more sensitive topic. I think India as a nation is yet to. I think we will get more serious about it once the regulations becomes much more tighter, and like GDPR, things gets getting more.
Raman, we're losing you. Raman, we cannot hear you. We're losing you.
You can't hear me?
No, Raman.
It's really muffled.
Not as clear as before.
There's a call that came in between. Maybe that.
Yes.
Okay. Talk. Maybe I think it should be okay now.
Is it better now? Is it getting better?
Yes.
Yep.
Perfect. Yes.
Okay. So a quick one. Because it's already 5 o'clock, we're running out of time. One last sort of rapid fire question to all of you.
Raman, I will losing you again.
So you are losing me again? I'm so sorry. Is it better now? I'm getting closer.
Yeah, it's better.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Thank God for saying that. A quick question to all of you. If you were to do some kind of crystal ball gazing, what would be that one art of possible that you would say which draws a good line between personalization and data privacy and really deliver something beyond that we have seen so far? A quick one crystal ball gazing art of possible. One line, each of you. Any thoughts?
I mean, you're asking like what's possible in future?
Yeah. One quick view on it.
Like I said, right? So we have been discussing about like where to draw the line. And I believe that apart from Facebook and Google, which have nailed down their personalized recommendation to each and every user, I do believe that in the near future, personalized communication to the user is very much possible as long as you keep two things in mind. One is transparency. We need to be always transparent with the users in terms of what kind of data we're collecting, how are we using that data. And the second and the most important thing is empathy. Like these users are human. They're not just a stats number for you. Like, hey, these many users, these many numbers. So as long as we keep these two things in mind, I believe giving a personalized experience, end-to-end experience is very much possible in near future.
Yeah, that's fair. Umesh, a quick one. What would be that one thing, from a Swiggy perspective that you would see happening in the future?
Difficult to say, but for us, the business goal is, of course, to become the convenience app for a number of things, and not just, it's basically urban convenience rather than food. So you may have seen us invest a lot of effort in bringing up new categories. It's visible in a certain set of cities and scaling further. So trying to use the learnings that we have now to cater to more categories, and probably when you have more behavioral data coming in, we would be able to understand the user better and further and deliver well across categories. That's something that we have from a business point of view, and the marketing stack is also working hard towards building that out for the future.
Yeah, thanks. Jahid, banking, to the new age, all digital. Any one futuristic thought, banking of the future, which is very, very personalized and respecting data privacy?
Yeah, so I think with great data comes more responsibility. So due cognizance to the fact, but something that we want to meaningfully drive is meaningful personalization, which appeals to the subconscious mind.
You give one example
Of meaningful personalization?
Yeah. For the future?
Lots of examples.
Maybe,
let me decide.
Maybe a product, like, I should be given a choice to create my own product, though there are regulatory boundaries around it. So you can't do as much as in a financial services industry as in other industries, but that could be, a good relevant thing.
Yeah.
So Rakesh, I want to end with you. Any last thoughts on this?
Yeah, you talked about future. So future looks very interesting and promising. And as a company, what we can talk about, we talked about data-driven marketing strategy. I think this data-driven will convert into insight-driven, and with a lot of AI and ML coming into picture, where a lot of analytics will be used. This data will be looked into a different way, and which will make us more relevant and give appropriate message to the people. So I think more indulgence of AI and machine learning, more insight-driven things, and in fact, being more relevant and doing maximum things in shorter space of time. I think that is where the future is going to be.
Yeah. So I think thank you. Thanks for those quick last notes. I would also want to sum up this from the perspective that I remember, from the day when for the first time I had put my credit card on a digital channel, to today when we don't even blink our eye and we do all kind of financial transactions on UPI. So I think there is a dramatic shift that has happened. So consumers, of course, put a lot of trust on the digital channels, and I'm sure everybody, all of you plus the other brands will always do enough to safeguard that trust which comes with the data, and in that boundary provide a deep personalized experience. So I think the future certainly is very bright, and I'm sure there's going to be a fine line between the two, and which will work in the interest of all. So on that note, thank you so much. Thank you, audience. Thank you, Jahid, Umesh, Gaurav, Rakesh. It was a wonderful discussion. I'm sure we can go on and talk a little bit more about it, but yeah, we have really truly run out of time here.
Thanks a lot.
So
and great having you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you,
So I'm going to hold you guys back for a couple of minutes as I wrap the session up. And whilst I wrap this session up, I have to say I've been doing so many panels in the last few months, but this panel has been extremely interactive. And the interesting part is it's not just been interactive amongst you all. I think the audience has also been very engaged and interactive. And, we've had continuous questions, we've had continuous comments come in. So job well done. I think we managed to convey the points we meant to convey through this discussion. So completely appreciate your time, your expertise, and your inputs. And whilst Raman did sum it up very well, so if I have to kind of, put it all together and give a larger context, I think I heard this in one of our discussions, and it made a lot of sense. A journey towards personalization is not a sprint. It's a marathon. It requires processes, it requires technology, it requires expertise, and it requires the ability to hang in. It's not a one campaign process where you try it or you do something and then you move on. It is a marathon and you have to be at it. So I'm hoping with all the inputs we've got, we're ready to run this marathon. As it's an absolutely powerful tool. It's very attractive when it comes to ROI for a marketer. So I'm hoping that all those who are listening in are taking back rich insights which have come in from all our panelists. It has been an absolute pleasure and privilege hosting all of you on this panel discussion. And Raman, completely appreciate you helping moderate this session. I think you were really able to sort of bring in a lot of context and perspective from all the experts on the panel. Big thank you to all our panelists for spending time with us and doing this discussion. So as we said, this is a series. It's not a single session. Just like we understand it's a marathon, so we also feel the need to make it a series where we can bring to you more on how to make modern marketing work. So do please join us for our next session, which is on 25th of November and on 9th of December, where we're going to cover topics around MarTech implementation in BFSI and remodeling digital transformation strategy for IT. On that note, thank you for joining us. Thank you, panelists. And as we bring the webinar to a close, here's a quick reminder on the various ways in which you can engage with MMA by subscribing to our newsletters, follow us on our social media handles, participate in our programs. There's a QR code there, and if you click into it, you could follow us on all the social media handles where we keep updating all our sessions and all our initiatives. So thank you very much, and have a lovely evening ahead.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.